famous of economathematics. Today I am not going to discuss any formula of economic mathematics, but I am simply trying to make a analysis of USA economy, the data of 2025, which was provided to me by my dear friend Shailen Tiwari, because he was interested in knowing whether or not this software of economathematics can be successfully applied to American economy. Why American economy? Because right now there are many ups and downs happening in the geopolitical system, because of which everything is in a flux. It's changing every moment now and then. American president thought that by imposing tariff on exporting countries, which are mainly being imported by American consumers, will restrict the flow of imports to America. But unfortunately, he also forgot that if there is no production within USA, the consumers have no other option but to consume same commodities at a higher price because of the tariffs imposed by US administration. Same thing happened in case of India also, and India didn't respond because it soon finalized trade deals with other nations. So instead of exporting those goods to America, other countries were ready to import it. So it made no difference. But American consumer as a whole, they are suffering a lot, and they suffered a lot. And now US Court, their Supreme Court has decided that the president has no power to impose such tariffs because this authority is vested only in the Congress, the Senate of American economy. Therefore, the situation is in a flux. It's changing constantly. But apart from all these upheavals, the basic fact remains that what is the status of economy as on today. Because the data is available only for 1985, therefore I tried to make a analysis by making the input of data provided to my friend. I am not a very big person or a big economist to interpret it correctly, but as far as possible, I have tried to make a distinction that whether or not this data reflects more or less the picture depicted all over the world. There are two types of economies. One is based on export-oriented economies like China, and it is usually said, it is usually believed also that exporting commodities to other countries always benefits the exporting countries, provided the benefits is shared by all its citizens, all those people who are engaged in those commodities which are being exported to other countries. But China is a restricted, they have a dictatorial kind of government in there. It's a communist country, and whatever their top leadership decides. So instead of sharing the benefits of export with citizens of China, China is engaged in building up its area of influence and increasing the military strength. No, that is also counterproductive, because one can easily understand that if you make most expenditure on defense related activities, the net impact is always negative, because defense expenditure are not productive kind of expenditures, and now and then they have to reinvest in new technologies and replacing the armaments once they become obsolete, one is compelled to manufacture again those weapons with improved technology. Therefore, China economy is also in deep trouble. But right now, I have no intention of analyzing the Chinese economy because they don't have any reliable data which can be analyzed. There is no authenticity of whatever they claim, whatever their claims are. But it is generally believed that whatever they claim is not correct. But on the contrary, USA is a democracy. There the consumers are free to consume whatever commodity they want at whatever cost they have to pay. Naturally, if the higher price is paid by them, there is a kind of opposition to it. They feel that they are unnecessarily paying higher costs for the same commodity which was coming to them quite cheap. After imposition of tariffs, American consumers are not very a satisfied lot. They are demanding that these tariffs should be removed. And right now, American court has also decided against the verdict of the president and said that the power to impose tariffs is not with president but rather the Congress. US Congress means lower house and upper house of US democracy. Now I come to whatever analysis I could make possible by data provided. Naturally, as against the expenditure of 3,503, the income is 4,925. One can easily, any economist will say that if fewer commodities are chasing with higher income, there is always a tendency of inflation. My software has 4 basic points which combine the square within a circle. The uppermost are expenditure, which is a monetary expression, and income is also a monetary expression. Expenditure is always incurred for making production. If there is no production, there will be no expenditure. If there is no expenditure, there will be no income also. Therefore, the expenditure should, if not more, it should at least be same. But higher income means the profits are being made by the producers of goods and services. Therefore, the income should always be more than expenditure. But how much, that depends on the rate of return and how much profit is being incurred by the producers. Here the difference is quite substantial. Against the expenditure of 40.15%, the income is 97.41%. Now from where this income is coming, that is a debatable issue. America has a tendency, their consumers have a tendency that they buy everything by using credit cards. For everything they purchase, they have 4, 5, 6 credit cards and they keep on swapping. Sometimes they will use one card, sometimes they use another card. And there is a very big weakness because in case the monetary regulatory system fails, the banks have to face lot of NPAs. NPA accounts are, if they become more, the bank also become quite weak because how long they can keep on providing credit to those consumers who are not able to repay the credit taken by these credit cards and by other means also. Now I come to the consumption. Consumption is 3,148, that is 25.93%. I am talking about the square of economy. And the production is only 2,150, that is minus 13.98. It means the American economy is not producing anything. And this is a fact also. Most things they import. They earlier thought that by importing cheaper goods from other countries, why they need to produce within USA. Now it has become a very big problem, not only for American economy, but all those countries who are exporting their goods and services to America. And this is a cause of concern not only for India, but because of the rivalry of military strength between China and America, because China thought that they have now enough export and financial muscle power, they can challenge by building up the military strength the American might, which is right now is the supposed to be the mightiest country in the world. So far as the financial strength is concerned, America is still, the dollar is still being used as a currency, reserve currency, and many countries are still somehow arrange dollar to make their own import of goods and services. But how long it will continue? That will depend on how and how much American economy sustains all those pressures which are coming on their economy by other emerging nations. I am Indian, I am in India, and I know that Indian economy has a biggest chunk of consumers, and they have a purchasing power also. Export is not a necessity for Indian economy, but it's a must for American consumers to import goods. Now, country can be different. It can be China, it can be European nations, it can be any country of the third world, India, and there are so many nations which are actively engaged in exporting goods like Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia. But the real story is very different. In fact, Chinese companies have opened up processing stores where simply the levels of good produced by China is converted into these nations, and they are just being repacked the same quality, same quantity, and exported to America, because America has imposed higher tariffs on China. To avoid these, all these countries are engaged in cheating the American administration. American administration also knows it, but they have no choice, because as I told you that it's a democratic country, they can contain the demand of American consumers. If they contain it, there will be a big dissatisfaction, and it may cause a big problem for any American administration. Therefore, they are still sustaining trade deficits. Trade deficit means also the balance of payment is not in favor of America, but rather other small exporting countries. It's a kind of very vicious circle, not only for developing nations, but developed ones also. Because US has not only imposed very high tariffs on its neighboring countries like Canada, but European nations, they were basically the supporters of USA, but right now they are also not happy. They are not satisfied, because ultimately their export is affected, and earlier they were planning to reduce their imports from China, but now once again they are constrained. India has emerged after free trade deals with European nations collectively and selectively also. And India is not just in friendly terms with America, but all the countries except very few ones. So Indian economy is not affected, but American economy is affected very adversely. This analysis and this disparity of income as against expenditure and how to increase the production base. It's a very big challenge for the American administration. As I told you before, that American citizens were free to consume cheaper goods. Therefore, they were not very interested in making any effort in engaging themselves in any manufacturing activities, any producing activity. So, they are now comfort living. Too much of comfort also causes people to become lazy. Unless you are engaged in some kind of work or other, the benefit to the economy doesn't come from its citizens. So this comfort living and on the top of it luxurious living is the one weakness of American citizens to keep 4 wheelers in their family and using all kind of imported gadgets. All these purchases are basically imported. America was once a very big manufacturers of car, Ford, Motors, General Motors. They were big companies producing this car and exporting it because it was a manufacturing. But right now, the scenario has changed quite adverse. So American economy is now more or less import-based economy, and other nations are being benefited by this weakness of American citizens because they are not engaged in any activities of production. But this cannot continue for long. They can't keep on consuming imported goods and services and do not engage in any making production activity, manufacturing activities. America right now is only very big exporter of arms and ammunitions, but the net export, is far less. Means even after exporting arms and ammunitions to other nations, their import of consumable goods and services is much high. And in America, the economy earlier was able to provide a social security to its citizens, like old age, like health services, like education and everything. They don't have to pay much for. American citizens were not paying much because the country was able to provide free services to its citizens and those residents also who were the Americans had come to America and now have become the citizens. Legals and illegals also. Because it's very difficult to make distinction that who are really American citizens and who are not. After all, consumers are consumers. It is what it is generally thought in America. Therefore, it's a very big consuming nations and many economies of the world are exporting goods and services, and America is bound to make imports of those goods and services. So, today I am not making any analysis by using the simulation one. Means if I have to find out that how America can reduce disparities which are right now prevailing in American economy, what steps they have to take gradually. Because right now the deviation is 37.38%. That is dangerous. 38% deviation is kind of this much to this much level. Their economy is against the balance. If the ideal value is 100, that is divided in 4 parts. It means that the square is 100 into 100 into 10,000. Now each square must have the value of 2,500. 2,500 into 4 will make 10,000. As I told you before, that income is 4,900 against 2,500. Expenditure is 3,500 as against 2,500. Consumption is 3,140 as against 2,500. and production is merely 2150 and it should be 2500. Therefore, this deviation has occurred 37%. It's a should cause this analysis should cause alarming bells for American administration that if this continues to grow also, because if they don't make remedial actions by increasing production, because production is the key. If they don't increase the production within US economy, all factors will render the American prosperity as a dangerous one. Their monetary system will collapse because of the fact that the credit based consumption is not sustained by the American banks. The American banks will face a very big challenge, and there are already cases when the American banks, some big banks also, they have declared bankruptcy. And there are a number of banks who are on the queue. They are on the verge of being collapsed. So along with the collapse of these banks, American consumers will have no other option but they will be deprived of the whatever credit card facility they have been enjoying. That will not be the case. Therefore, I have made this analysis and this formula. In next session, I will simulate it that how to reduce this deviation of 37.38% to at least zero level. It means income, expenditure, consumption and production are just same. Everything has the value of 2500. It is not possible right now, but it should be the aim to reduce the deviation from 38% to manageable level. Rest the time will take care of. With this, I take permission to end my presentation. Thank you.